Welcome to Lock Harbour Astro, and in this video I'm just going to run through the very basics of the stacking program within PixInsight, and it's a Weighted Batch PreProcessing Script. So without further ado, we'll get on with it. To find the weighted batch processing script, it's strangely in scripts, batch processing right at the top there, and then come down to weighted batch processing. Once you've clicked on that, wait for it to load up. My PC's a little bit slow on that side of things, so just bear with me. And there we are, it's loaded up now. And you can see on here we've got various tabs along the top: bias, darks, flats, lights, calibration, post-calibration, and pipeline. So the one we're interested in to start off with is the actual different types of frame: bias, darks, flats, or lights. And you'll see down the bottom here you've got this file directory, files, bias, darks, flats, and lights. The directory and files I tend not to use because I know where to find them, and you can add custom in there if you want to as well. So normally I start off with the lights, so I want to add the lights, so I click on the plus lights tab, which opens up my files, and let's see if I can find where I'm going to. M45 was the one I was going to use for this demonstration. I've got some 60-second images in there, so that's my 60-second images. And then I'm just going to, because I've checked, pre-checked all of these to make sure that they're all okay. And you'll see that I've got a markdown with the image number, bin times 1, 60 seconds, minus 11, and the gain is 120. These were taken with an ASI 294 MC Pro, so they're OSC images. So I'm just going to pick all of them and click on open. And that immediately goes to the lights tab and shows you all of the lights that you've selected. So for everything here, I tend to leave as is. Don't change any of this side of it at all. I can then come up to the flats, and for the flats images, and then my flats are in here. So with this, I created these using APT, and when it does the processes in there, it creates them with the flats just have an F at the start, dark flats have a DF, or flat darks, whichever way round you want to put it. So I'm trying to pick the flats, so click on all the flats. On this, there should be 20 of them, I believe. 20 is normally the number that I use. Yeah, there we go. So that's the flats. Now you'll notice here that there's not a dark flats or flat darks tab. That's because on the weighted batch processing, the dark flats go into the darks area. So if I click on darks, and then I'm back in and make sure I'm in the same file, and I pick on the dark flats, Open those. And I also want to add the darks for this particular setup as well. So if I click darks, plus darks again, then I can go up to my darks library and 294 MC Pro, gain 120, offset 8, and 60-second darks. So I can pick all my 60-second darks. I'm picking all of them in this particular case. I do have masters for this, but I'm just demonstrating with all of the files here. So when they're added in, there's 40 frames in there for these particular ones, and you can see that it's divided them into the times, the exposure times for the flats. So you've got the 60-second, 40 off, and 2.12 seconds for the dark flats at 20 frames. So with this particular camera, I don't use bias frames. There's no point. I found with the ASI 294 MC Pro that using bias frames actually affected the amp glow. It left a residual of the amp glow on the finished image. So not using bias frames actually removed that, and I found that although the 294 MC Pro is renowned for its amp glow, just darks on their own will get rid of that. So we've ended up with darks, 2 sets of, flats and lights. So then we come to the calibration tab. So here it lists what you've got selected. So nothing on the bias, 40, 60-second ones on the darks, 20 on at 2.12 seconds, 20 flat frames, and 31 lights. Now if I select the lights, you can see that as soon as I select the lights, these the flats have turned green, and these 40 dark frames have turned green as well. So if I slide that across, so that you can see the other stuff that's on here, because this is an OSC image, you want to make sure that CFA images is selected, and you can do that here on the side. So you've got CFA image, mosaic pattern, auto. For this particular camera, if you want to, for my particular camera, the actual pattern is RGGB, so I could select that if I wanted to, but auto is fine. It just selects whatever you use for your camera. And the debayer method, VNG. Again, you've got bilinear and superpixel if you want to. I tend to use VNG. Once you've made sure that that's selected for the lights, then do the same for the flats. Excuse me. There we go. And make sure that the flats have got the CFA image, yes, and CFA scaling is yes. And then if you come up to, you can see that because I've selected the flats, you'll see that the 20 flat darks is turned green above them. So if I scroll across that, well, they're dark, so they haven't got a CFA selection there. But if I select them, then the flat frames are green, or selected, and if I do those, then it's the lights. So it knows which one it's using with which frame set. So post calibration, this tells me that I've got 31 minutes in total, It's an RGB image that I'm going to be producing. If it was a mono image, then I would have the 3 different file types here. If it was SHO, or 2 if I'm using HOO, or 4 if I'm using LRGB. This is OSC, a one-shot color, so it's an RGB. And when I scroll across, drizzle has been disabled, and I've got a tick in status, so that's fine. The debayer on here, combine RGB is selected. I can separate, which produces 3 different files, so you actually separate out the RG and B sections, and the final selection there is combine and separate, so you end up with actually 4 images. So you've got the combined one, the full color image, and then you've got the R, G and B separated. It's entirely up to you. I use combine because that's what I want. So the other things to look out for here in pipeline, there's nothing there at the moment. This will actually show your progress through. So what we want to do here, if you've got a reference image, a registration reference image that you want to use, say on the lights, say 4288 is my reference image there, then instead of auto, then I can put manual, and I can select 4288, and it will come up in there. Or I can click on the file image here, and I'll go to the darks. So it will take me to my image that I want to use, 18th, 45, 60s, 4288, and I can pick that there and open. So you can do it that way, or you can just select it out of here, double click on it, and it will be put into there. I'm going to let the thing do its own work and choose auto. Now the final thing that you need to pick is the output directory. So I don't want to use that one. I'm going to use the folder that it's in, M45. You'll see there's already a master folder in here, which hasn't got anything in it at the moment. So I'm just going to select M45. There we go. That's to make sure that all of the calibration files and everything all go into that one folder. Otherwise it gets a bit confusing. I've forgotten to set this, and it defaults to the previous one that you had set up. So that's it's just going to put it into put it somewhere that you don't want it. So that's basically it, ready to go. So you can do a quick diagnostics, just clicking on the diagnostics button here, and it will come up and tell you a standard thing that I tend to ignore. Cannot create files with a path longer than 256 characters. Great, although don't do that anyway. It's saying that no bias frames have been provided. Well, we know that. And it's given us the total size of that it's calculating for master darks, master flats, calibrated flats, calibrated lights, debayer, etc, etc, etc. If you're okay with that, that's fine. It also tells you down the bottom here, required working space is 10.81 gigabytes, and I've got 675 available, so that's fine. So when I'm happy with everything, I've got my darks, I've got my flats, I've got my lights, done my calibration side of it, made sure that's okay. Post calibration we're all right with. We've done our reference file and we've got an output directory. Next thing to do is just click run, and it comes up with your diagnostic again. If you're happy with that, click continue, and away it goes. And it will run through all of these different processes. So it's going to integrate the dark frames, calibrate the flat files, integrate them, calibrate the lights, debug, take some measurements, reject any bad frames that it finds, and as it's running the process, it will give you an elapsed time here. When it's completed, the little round circle will turn green, and it will give you your total time for that particular task, and any notes on here when it's complete. So I'm going to do now, this will probably take a little while on my PC, so I'm going to stop the video now and restart when it's complete. So there we go. For you it's only been a couple of seconds, but for me it's been 36 minutes and 42 seconds, as you can see from the bottom, executed in time down here. So this is the weighted batch processing monitor. You can see the elapsed times for everything on here. 31 images measured, none rejected, and the final image has been cropped as well, because I've got auto crop selected. I should have mentioned that before. On my PC, as I say, it's taken 36 minutes, so it's certainly not the quickest stacking process out there. But there again, it's up to you how long you do your exposures for, how many images you're going to process, and how large those images are. You can see from mine, the images are 4144 by 2822 pixels. So quite large, and when I open up the file itself for the 60 seconds, you can see that each one there is about 22 meg each, something like that. So quite large files, and if you've got a lot of them, then it's going to take a lot of processing power to actually process them. So what have we ended up with? Well, you can see that, as I say, this is the progress monitor on here, so it tells you when everything's done, and your done button comes up here. If you click on that, then it comes up with a smart report for you. Tells you everything that's been going on all the way back. Tell you what it's done, and you can either save this report if you want to, or just click done. I don't generally save them, because once it's been stacked, then I'm quite happy. Then once it's once you click the done, then it takes you back to the main screen again, and you can exit out of the weighted batch processing script. So what are we left with? Well, we'll exit out of that. What are we left with? Well, this is the file, and you can see that there's a few more files that have been created. So we've got a file, a folder of calibrated files, and I've got the flats and the lights in there. So that is 2.2 gigabytes. Generally I don't hold on to these once the stacking process has taken place. The debugger folder is just over 4 gigabytes in size, and there you go, there's all of those. Got the log files, 2 log files in there, including a JavaScript one. That's not too bad, 817 kilobytes there. Registered there's another 4 gigabytes of data, and again you've got all the registered image files in there. And finally, the one that you actually want, the master files. Now there's some extra ones in here. The ones that we've just done have got the brackets 1 after them because I created this previously and I've just used the same folder to put all of these in. So what I've ended up with is a master dark at 2.12 seconds, so that's the dark flat. I've ended up with a master dark at 60 seconds, which is my master dark. I've ended up with a master flat and a master light, and I've also ended up with a master light auto crop. So that would be the one that I use for processing. So there we go. So as I say, what I normally do with these is calibration, debugger, log and register. Oops. I delete those because I don't need them anymore now. And I've just saved myself somewhere in the region of 10 gigabytes of memory space on the PC. And if you can imagine that for every process that every imaging session that you take, then that's quite a lot. So we'll have a quick look at the image. Final image, M45, auto crop, open it up, and you'll see what it's done. Because it's the auto crop, then it's opened up two files here. This is the auto, this is the bit that's been cropped out. So if I expand that out, you'll see it's just the bit around the edge that's been cropped out, so we can turn that off. Don't need that one. And on this one, as you can see, the flats didn't really work very well, but once I'd done the processing on them, then they weren't actually too bad. And the final image that we got was this. Oops. Pull it out, and there we go. That was the final image that we got from the first stacking, which isn't actually too bad, seeing as it's only 31 minutes of exposures that was on it. So there we go. That's the end of the weighted batch processing. I hope it's been of some use to you and sort of showed that although it takes quite a long time, it's actually not as complicated as you might initially think. So give it a go and let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks very much.